Good morning. Hi, I'm Gwen Caldwell. I want to provide a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a lawyer. I do not give advice in any of those areas. Everything I provide is my opinion, my experience, and it is for educational purposes only. Do your own research. Um, yeah, do your own research. So, with that said, good morning, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And I'd like to really thank all of the followers on the group. You can find us on Facebook group / I am Gwen Caldwell. Also, you can join, you can subscribe to my channel at YouTube, and I appreciate that. And if you like my content, please give it a thumbs up. Okay, so I wanted to talk today, first of all, about things that you can do where you are with what you have. And um, I know that money right now is really tight. Time is really tight. People, they're just busy and their lives are overwhelmed with just getting through the day most of the time. But there are some pretty simple remedies to a lot of things that are going on. And the one thing I want to really talk about is the oath and bonds. If you are an elected official, if you're in the military, if you are a city official, if you are the sheriff, if you're a deputy, they all have to raise their hand and take their oath of office. And so that's them saying, I'm going to do the right thing. Well, what remedy do we have when they're not doing the right thing? Well, I'm not so sure. It varies from city to city, but on a state and national level, you have got to be bonded. So, in the event that somebody is going beyond their oath of office or not supporting the Constitution or that kind of thing, you can literally go after their bond. And if they're not, if the bond companies, the insurance companies that are bonding them get tired of paying out because they won't abide by the Constitution, they're going to drop their bond, and then they cannot hold the office that they're in because they're not bonded. So um, I live in Fargo, North Dakota. My friend called me. She knows I wouldn't wear a mask, and she's like, "Oh my God, Gwen, they're down at City Hall and they're trying to make all these rules about wearing a mask." And I went, "Oh, hell no." I said, "I got to go. I'm going down there right now." So I drove downtown and went in, and sure enough, they just had this big screen full of all this crap that they're going to impose on us. And I just went, the discussion, of course, was over. I wasn't on the agenda, so I couldn't speak. But, I just went into, oh, hell no mode. And I came home and I wrote the governor and all of the city commissioners and the mayor a letter. And I asked for their oath, a certified copy of their oath and bond. And then I went on to say that they are not my physician. They have no authority to be making medical decisions for me, first and foremost. Secondly, the FDA has not approved any personal protection equipment that will protect from the contraction or the spread of any disease, much less COVID. And so people wearing masks that aren't approved to stop the contraction or the spread of COVID is absolutely worthless, and it's damaging to your health. And so I included a video. It was quite lengthy, but very well presented by OSHA about the reasons that people in a hospital situation wearing a mask aren't oxygen deprived like normal people just wearing masks out in public. It's because they, in those environments, they increase the oxygen in the space so that when they're wearing masks, they aren't, they're not suffering from a decrease in oxygen. And then she talked about the harm of that lack of oxygen. She talked about how the masks are ineffective. Basically, it's like, trying to keep a mosquito from going through a chain link fence. And so it was very well done, but very, professional and all of that. So when I sent the letter, I did get a response from the governor. And the governor, wrote back and said, well, going forward, any bills that, regard this, will keep your thoughts in mind going forward. Not one single response from the city commissioners or the mayor. So the next meeting is coming up, and they're going to be voting on this garbage. And I hadn't gotten their oath of office. So I called the auditor and I said, do you have certified copies of the commissioner's oaths of office? Yes, I do. I said, could I get them, please? Sure, we'll call you and we can find them. I'm like, no. I need them today before you close for business because there's a meeting tonight and I need it for the meeting. So the auditor didn't call me. The secretary for the mayor called me. So I know at that point that the mayor and the commissioners, they know I'm coming and I'm serious. I'm not just writing a letter and I'm just going to let it go because they refuse to respond. So I went right up to City Hall. I got the oaths of office, and then I went back downstairs to the auditor's office with their oath of office. It's notarized. And then I signed each one saying that I accepted their contract. This goes backwards somehow. Signed it and I notarized it. So now I'm accepting their contract in their private person to uphold their oath of office. Now they can be held personally liable for any damage that comes to me from their stupid retardedness in trying to make me wear a mask, and if not, that there's some legal consequence. So I went down to City Hall, or down to the commissioners' meeting, and I served them. I served each one of them. I've got a whole stack of them here for each commissioner and the mayor. And, you do stuff like this, it totally throws them off guard. But when you do it, they know the legal implication of what you've just done. And they knew that it was coming when I went and picked those up. So their big damn long list of all the, mandates that they were going to impose all of a sudden became 2 sentences. And that was, if you have COVID, Please stay home, wear a mask if you have to be in public, socially distance, and that kind of thing. No mandate, no enforcement, no way that that can be legally enforced. So I felt like it was a win because it went from this excruciatingly painful list of things down to be responsible. The issue that I have with things like this, and many others, but I'm just using this as an example. By God, I am an adult and I can make my own damn decisions for my own damn life. And I don't need the government deciding for me what I should do medically, what I should be doing socially, what I should be doing privately or publicly, unless I'm causing harm. Period. End of subject. So anyway, I know it's kind of scary, and I was kind of shaken a little bit when I went up there, and it takes guts to do that. But doggone it, if we don't start having some damn guts, we are not going to have a country. And I would just want to encourage each and every one of you to start standing up wherever you are. And if you're not going to run for office, freaking show up. Show up at the school board meetings and tell them you don't want Planned Parenthood agendas being taught to your, second grader about anal sex. You know what I mean? Show up. Show up to your city council meetings. Show up at the county commissioners meetings. When I ran for office and was elected, you're really altruistic going into it a lot of times, and you just think that you're going to change everything that is wrong. It's not that easy. But what I found in my community is that nobody showed up. There was always the same 3 or 4 people and the reporter from the newspaper. So once I got elected, I made flyers. I paid the kids a penny a piece to take them and put them on doors to invite people to the city council meeting. So first time I did that, instead of the 4 or 5 people and the reporter, 60 people showed up. The council chambers couldn't hold the 60 people, so they had to move the meeting down to the fire hall. And then the first thing that came out of the mayor's mouth, who I might add, I got his best friend to resign from the council before I ran. I was not on his I'm happy list. He wanted someone to make a motion to have me investigated for violations of data privacy. Well, nobody on the council would make the motion. So I raised my hand and I made the damn motion. You want to investigate me? All right. So as soon as I said I'd make the motion, someone else seconded it. It was a unanimous vote to have me investigated. The crowd erupted as the mayor stuttered and stammered and could barely get out of his mouth. Gwen, she made a motion to have herself investigated. And he could hardly contain the crowd. He's pounding on his gavel. They're whistling, throwing their hats up in the air. You just got to have guts and you got to have integrity. And no matter what, you got to do the right thing. So, okay, I'm going to move on. The next thing that I was involved in that was very effective. So we had a group of about 10 people, 12 people, and we would go to court and we'd just sit in the courtroom and watch cases. And not all the time everybody was there. Sometimes there were 3 or 4, sometimes there were 8, sometimes everybody would show up depending on what the case was. And we tell these people, we witnessed, we're in the court, and we witnessed your constitutional right be violated. And we're willing to sign an affidavit of truth and help you file a Title 18 in federal court against this judge or this sheriff or whatever for violating your constitutional rights. So over a course of a year, we filed 35 Title 18s in federal court. At that time, it was $125 to file. And we had bake sales, garage sales. We did little fundraisers, put jars around at the little market or whatever for donations. We didn't have computers at that time, so you really couldn't. I mean, now we have social media, so it's a lot easier to get people involved and to get donations and things. But the end result of that was 12 people, 35 federal lawsuits filed. We didn't hire lawyers, but the county damn sure was hiring lawyers, and they weren't hiring one lawyer. They were hiring firms, and it was costing them outrageous amounts of money to fight these lawsuits. We just represented ourselves. So ultimately what ended up happening is the county commissioners had to call an emergency meeting, called the judges and the sheriff, the deputy sheriff, and I don't know who else, probably the city attorney, and just said, you know what? You have got to stop violating people's constitutional rights. And if you don't, you're not going to get a paycheck because the county has gone broke paying for your lawsuits. And we're broke. It's got to stop. So in 1 year, 35 lawsuits, 12 people in that county, that shit stopped. Full stop. It was amazing. They literally took the Admiralty flag out of the courtroom and brought a constitutional flag into the courtroom, and the judges were being called out for being the banker. They're not a judge. They're the collection agency. Holy hell. You can do it. You got 3 or 4 friends that'll go sit in court with you on some afternoon. You can get templates for affidavits of truth on the internet. If you need one, I'll help you. These things stop the tyranny, and it stops the overreach of government. And you have to be involved. You just absolutely do. You have to hold these people accountable. You have to call them out. And if you don't have every one of your senators and representatives on speed dial on your phone, I'm ashamed of you. Really. You should be calling them every day and complaining about HR 1. You should be complaining about whatever it is that they're doing that is depreciating your ability to be a free American. You are not a U.S. citizen. You were not born in Washington, D.C. You do not live in that nation state. You are not employed by their government, their corporation. You are an American national. By God, and you better start acting like one, or you're not going to have a country. Full stop. And I'm tired of people, I'm afraid. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Well, pretty soon, your children and your grandchildren are going to be living under Chairman Xi of China and the Communist Party, because that's where we're headed. So, at some point, you got to pull up your big britches And you got to get out of that mindset that one person can't make a difference, nobody will listen. I can't do that. I'm afraid. What I'm afraid of is if I don't do it, what does this country look like for my grandchildren? And that vision I see scares the hell out of me. Full stop. You can make phone calls. You can send text messages. You can send emails. I don't recommend signing petitions, generally speaking, unless it's for a referendum where a petition actually counts that has your signature on it, because petitions are just, nobody reads those. But by God, when you're blowing up your senators and your representatives' phone, I can guarantee you they're paying attention to that because they don't like answering the phone. Takes them off the golf course. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about, these things I just recently learned about, and I was unaware. So I'm assuming there are others that are unaware. But when I think about distribution and where I live, I live in North Dakota. We do not have a local economy that supports our community. Every single thing we buy is trucked in, or it comes in on a train and then trucked. But we're really dependent on the delivery on demand system. And as most people know, that delivery on demand system, assuming there's no hordes or looting, generally grocery stores have no more than 3 days worth of product. Distribution centers are, they have more supply, up to maybe 30 days to deliver to those points of destination. But what I found out is that the cargo ships, and I never think about the cargo ships being part of the distribution system, really. When I always think about what are the truckers doing. But apparently the cargo ships are sitting offshore and cannot unload. And when they're coming in and unloading, they have to wait for those cargo containers to be unloaded, and then they reload and go back to wherever they came from. That flow has been disrupted. And so the product coming in and going to the distribution centers has been fractured. So that's kind of creating an issue. The issue beyond that is the trucking. And when everything shut down, restaurants shut down, clothing stores shut down, all these industries were not able to be open. So truckers got laid off, and they're able to get unemployment. They're making comfortable money, so they're not going back to work. And the truckers that could otherwise get their licenses aren't able to do that in the number that we need to replace truckers that aren't working. And because of the social distancing, or you can't have classes, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. So there's been another disruption or slowdown, fracture in our delivery on demand. So not only the lack of product being available, but because of supply and demand, now the trucking companies have grossly increased, I might add, what they are being paid per mile. And so when you go to the grocery store, by next month, we've already seen a 10% overall increase in food prices since Biden's been in office. That's going to go up. So just a heads up, I just want to let you know that, because it looks like they're going to pass the stimulus. And if they do, I highly recommend that you get at least the staples: flour, sugar, beans, rice, you know, powdered milk, that kind of thing, because it's going to go, the groceries are going to skyrocket in my estimation. The other thing I would really recommend that you get organic or heritage seeds, heirloom seeds. Um, I don't care if you have to grow green beans in a pot on your balcony. You need to be taking some personal responsibility for at least some of your food source. Your quality of life may depend on it, quite frankly. So I just would encourage you also to get seeds. The next thing is, uh, it looks like a financial collapse is pretty imminent within the next 30 to 45 days. And I want to talk a little bit about what that is going to look like. And if you have any problem like imagining what I'm going to tell you, go look at the videos of when Argentina collapsed, or go look at the videos when Venezuela collapsed, to just kind of get a visual of that for your quality of life, the quality of life for your family, your children, your grandchildren. What always happens in a collapse like that, first thing you'll notice are food shortages, because there's going to be failure in the distribution system. And in a financial collapse, my personal belief is that it'll be catastrophic. Paper currency becomes worthless. If you'll remember all the photographs from Zimbabwe when they were taking paper money by the wheelbarrow loads to get a loaf of bread. Streets of Venezuela literally had paper money laying in the street, and people were starving and following garbage trucks around, digging in the garbage bags to get food. Oh, yeah, and they were killing the pigeons. So there you go. There will emerge different ways of exchange, let's just say. So if you have silver or you have gold, bartering. But what skills do you have? What can you? I think skills are going to be probably more useful than actual physical goods. But those are things to think about. What does your new economy look like? What is your new trade system going to be? Do you have metals you can trade? Do you have things you can barter? Do you have skills that you can barter? Homelessness and job loss. You basically become refugees in a fairly short period of time, and you'll start seeing large scale migration, which we're already seeing. Look at the people leaving California. You can't even get a U-Haul truck. There will be utility disruptions. First of all, for non-payment, and then because people don't show up for work. And our grid system is so volatile and so old that it needs constant maintenance. And if people aren't showing up for work, you don't have it. The garbage truck drivers, if they're going to work for money that's not worth anything, they're not going to show up. to haul your trash. Same with the water. Who's going to go and put fluoride and chlorine in your water? You better have a backup plan. Crime increases, looting, robbery, marauding. And then comes the militaristic rule, martial law maybe eventually follows. Your health, fire, and police will be sporadic at best. You're not going to be able to call 911, generally speaking. And then you have to think about what the recovery looks like and what you have that's going to help you maintain your quality of life, restoring and going back into that recovery once things have stabilized. So anyway, that's all I wanted to really talk about today. I really am at this juncture available to answer questions. If you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to have Zoom calls if you're interested in that. If you want more specific information or you need help with something in your planning and your strategy, if I can help, I'm more than willing to do that. Right now, I have the time to do that, and I'm willing to do it. A month from now, that may not be the case, but right now I do. So I am available. So you can leave a comment, and I do read my comments, and I will respond if you want me to contact you. So with that being said, I'm out to commit random acts of kindness today and run some errands. So I hope you all have a really blessed day, and prepare, be aware, don't, whatever you do, don't leave yourself in a situation where when a crisis hits, you're in a crisis. Be in a place where you can be calm, you can assess the situation, you can make grounded decisions. You're not in a panic, because I'm telling you, making decisions out of desperation are always a disaster. I would not recommend that as a game plan. Just saying. Been there. So just really take some personal responsibility and do what you can to protect yourself and your family from being in a crisis. So thank you for joining me again. You can subscribe on my YouTube channel. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up. You can join the Facebook group. It's facebook.com/group/I am Gwen Caldwell. And that's it. Have a good day. Thank you for joining me.